it. You are here with us joining AMN Healthcare International, AMN Academy, every Monday at 9 p.m. Every first and third Monday of the month, it's the turn of NCLEX partners of AMN to give you free lessons on next generation NCLEX. However, if it's the second or fourth Monday of the month, it's the turn of 9.09er English to talk about the latest updates when it comes to English examinations that are required for US visa screen and your license endorsement. So with me for tonight is Coach Brian. What is our topic for tonight? Well, guess what? It's only a few weeks from now that we're going to have the start of another fiscal year in the United States of America. And the question is, when is the best time to pass your English examination? Is it before October 1 or after October 1? That's going to be our topic for tonight. Shortly, Sir Brian will be joining us. But meanwhile, let's ask our live attendees, where are you right now? Let us know where you are watching us or joining us from. And kindly use the comment section in order to interact with us. Yes, the recorded version of this one will be made immediately available after the Facebook Live session, but there's no thrill in watching the recorded version. It's always best that we interact with each other. So if you have any questions related to PTE, IELTS, OET, and passing these examinations before October 1, then kindly use the comment section. I understand that there's a slight delay between StreamYard and Facebook, so use this time right now to let us know where you're watching us from. Kindly use the comment section. For now, let's ask Sir Brian to greet our live viewers.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this session. We are going to be talking about your goals and your dreams of going to the USA in particular. And we're also going to try and figure out this session when the best time to take your English exam is, especially because the new fiscal year is up and coming. It's just right around the corner. So, when is it really best to take your English exams? We're going to try and figure that out in a few, hopefully, within a few minutes. Let me just deploy a very quick push notification to inform all of our students as well and subscribers that we are live on Facebook. And guys, please, if you're interested to know when to take your English exams, especially with the up and coming fiscal year, invite your friends over, tag them to this meeting, let them know that we're live right now because this is going to be a fun and exciting session.
We understand, guys, that it has been a very long weekend for you, and some of you might be enjoying the last few hours of your long weekend. But for those who are so excited to go back to their daily grind, well, it starts with our discussion for tonight so that by tomorrow, everything is back on track. Now, let's take a look at some of the comments here in our comment section. And we have 81 live viewers right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Melds Mateo is watching from Isabela. So good evening to you, Miss Melds. Jana said, hi, Sir Irvin and Sir Brian. Hello to you, Miss Jana. Mai is watching from Negros Oriental. So maayong gabi ka kaninyo diha sa Visayas ug sa Mindanao. So going back to our topic for tonight, yes, passing the required English examinations in order for you to work as a nurse in the United States of America. But just in case you have plans of going to America and you are a registered nurse, but you have not started anything yet with your application, then you are on the right Facebook page because this is the Facebook page of AMN Healthcare International. There's sponsorship for your NCLEX examination and sponsorship for your English examination. And I know that going overseas might require a significant budget, but do not fret because we will allow you to experience the generosity of AMN Healthcare International. Because if you are qualified, then you don't have to worry about your NCLEX expenses and your English exam expenses, as there is a scholarship program for you. So if you have not started anything yet, always remember that AMN Healthcare International is a message away, or you can also visit their website and send them a direct email. Now, let's take a look at some of the comments and then perhaps we can move on to the first slide of our presentation for tonight. Wow, we have 101 live viewers right now. Imelda is watching from Parañaque. Oji is also enrolled in Metro Manila. So I assume it's also a good evening for our first Oji right here. Jisoo is watching us all the way from Johannesburg, Africa. And
Mm.
Jana said, let's watch Alvin for an informative session for our dreams. Oh, yes, because tonight we're going to ask you questions, and based on your responses, that's when we'll recommend you to take the first step or the next step. So, Sir Brian, let's take a look at the slides that we have prepared for tonight. One moment, guys. Let's just see if the presentation that we have prepared for tonight can actually move. Okay, there you go. So, the first question, do you have NCLEX already? As many as those who have NCLEX already, will you please use the comments section and say yes? Obviously, there are just two possible answers, right? Yes or no. But why is this an important question? Later on, we will find out after you tell us if you have NCLEX already. So, guys, yes or no? Okay, Jana has NCLEX. What about the others? I mean, we have more than 100 live viewers, and only Jana has NCLEX. What about the others? Paul has NCLEX. Okay, who else has NCLEX? Jose. So far, we have 3 attendees for tonight with NCLEX. Jen is the 4th one with NCLEX. Charles is the 5th. Hi, Charles. Farina is watching all the way from KSA. Honey responded yes. Okay, Mark Darrell said no. At least now we have an idea that there are certain candidates with NCLEX and the other candidates without NCLEX yet. So I'm not a nurse, but Sir Brian right here is a nurse. So let me ask Sir Brian, based on the experience of 9.09 reviewees ever since we operated in 2007, which examination is best for them to take first? Is it NCLEX or their English examination? Your thoughts, please, Sir Brian?
I'm sorry, Sir, I'm a little bit choppy. Um, I'm having some internet problems right now. I
No.
hope that I can still be heard. Uh,
Yes, you are.
yeah.
It's very clear.
Okay. So it's just recovered. I'm sorry. All right. So the question is, when is the best time to take the IELTS if you haven't actually taken your NCLEX yet? So with consideration to your NCLEX, I believe that the first examination that you should be taking is the one that has a longer expiration date. So do remember that when you're taking an English examination, they do have expiry dates. And for English exams, they're only valid for 2 years. And so it's best to take first your NCLEX, and that's the usual advice that we will be giving you before you take an English examination, because the NCLEX will be there and will last you a longer time without expiring compared to your English exam result.
So, guys, always remember that in order to apply for your visa screen, you need your NCLEX and your English examination. Once you have passed your NCLEX, you are not required to take another NCLEX after 2 years or to take another NCLEX after 5 years. It's usually the English examination that you have to keep on retaking depending on, number one, the status of the retrogression, and number two, the priority date and visa bulletin. That is why for the people who have responded no, let me just count. There's Mark, there's Ina, there's Ton, Dorothy, Alma. There are around 6 of them without the NCLEX yet. So the recommendation of 9.09er, not that we are employers and not that we work for a recruitment agency, but this is based on our experience in the last 18 years of helping thousands of Filipino nurses work in the United States of America. NCLEX must always come first. It must always be the top priority. Everything else will follow after your NCLEX, but it has to be NCLEX first. countries. And I'm sure that AMN Healthcare International has programs for NCLEX. And if you need the assistance of our dear partner, longtime partner, iPass Processing, you can also send iPass Processing a direct message. And I am confident that iPass is also a partner of AMN Healthcare International. So if you have NCLEX already, you can move on to the next step of your application, which is your English examination. However, if you don't have the NCLEX yet, then we vehemently recommend that you begin with your preparation and application for next generation NCLEX. So, Sir Brian, let's move on to slide number 2.
Certainly. So the slide here is actually going to talk about the PD. So, Sir Irvin, what is the PD?
So, guys, priority date is something that you always have to remember. Why? Because when the visa bulletin is out, it is going to tell you who among the applicants will be processed. So if your priority date is, say for instance, December 2020, and what if that is the current visa bulletin for your country, if you have applied on or before December 2020, then that means you are not affected by the retrogression. Your papers will still be processed. However, if your priority date is after December 2020, that means, say, you have to wait for your turn for the visa bulletin to move forward. Some of the nurses who are present here tonight might be familiar with priority date, visa bulletin, retrogression, and so on. However, if you are, let's say, for instance, a beginner, a novice, someone who has recently taken the board examination and right now is still gaining hospital experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us compare the concept of retrogression to something like going to the bank. Okay? There are instances that when you go to the bank, there is no line at all. The security guard gives you a number, and because there is no line, you go straight away to the teller in order for you to be processed right away. So, this is the ideal situation, and this is what we call current when it comes to visa bulletin or visa processing. However, part of the cycle or part of the visa application of America is what we call priority date. This serves as your number. So you would know that if your priority date is already current or if you are called, then that means to say you are eligible for processing. However, if your number is after the or if your priority date is after the one that is current or being processed, then you have to wait for your turn. The question is, how long are you supposed to wait? Truth of the matter is, no one here can actually predict what's going to be the visa bulletin come October 1. That's why all eyes are on October 1. It's not as if you're going to release the visa bulletin exactly on October 1. But typically, this is released a few days or 2 weeks before this one. So it's already August 26th. We are looking forward to the second week or third week of September because that will seal the deal. That will tell us when we are supposed to take our English examination. Again, you are not affected by this if you have not taken your NCLEX yet. However, if you have taken your NCLEX, then the question is, should you take your English examination before October 1 or after October 1? Before we move on to the next slide, first let's take a look at the comments of some of our live viewers. So, yes sir here said, he already passed the NCLEX. It's just that there is no one from AMN who contacted him. Nothing to worry because AMN is responsive. You can send a private message or you can send an email. And please expect some delays if ever there are time zone differences. But one thing's for sure, you will receive a reply from AMN Healthcare International. We've worked with them for quite some time. And one thing's for sure, if it's not a weekend, you will get a response within 24 hours. Okay, Brenda said priority date, done. Now, here's a question from Veronica. Sir, do you need to take an English examination again when it's expired, considering the visa screen will expire in 5 years? So this one, I'll refer the question to Sir Brian. So earlier, we have mentioned that NCLEX does not necessarily expire. Now, the visa screen expires in 5 years, but after it reaches 5 years, it does not mean that you are going to retake your NCLEX. It only means you have to renew your visa screen by retaking your English examination. So, Sir Brian, what about the validity of English examination results? How long is it valid for?
Yes, Sir Irvin, that makes a lot of sense because English exams are only valid for a couple of years. So for most of these English tests, they're going to expire in 2 years. So even if, for example, your NCLEX is still valid or your license is still valid, your English exam results will already be invalid after 2 years. And so if your visa screen is bound to expire, then perhaps it has been some time that your IELTS or your OET, your PTE, or whatever other English exam you've taken has already expired. And so applying for another visa screen would mean to say most of the time applying for another English exam or registering for your next exam. And that's why sometimes when we have these kinds of situations, you have to be ready because it's not to say that you're only going to take your English examination once, especially if we have retrogression or something like that, and your application process becomes a little extended. There's a tendency for you to take an English examination more than once. So you cannot actually be rusty until you've landed in the USA.
Thank you so much for the clarification, Sir Brian. That is why you have to be strategic as to when you are going to take your English examination. Why? Because if it becomes current, crossing our fingers that the visa bulletin will become current by October 1, that means to say, blessed are those who have passed their NCLEX and their English examination, for they are going to get ahead in the processing. Now, if you are that kind of person who needs to wait until such time that the visa bulletin is out, and once it's out and you have not taken your NCLEX yet, rest assured that your processing will take longer. So now, who I would say have a vantage point. Those who have their NCLEX already and are waiting to take their English examination. Remember that the visa bulletin comes out not exactly on that day, but usually a few days before or 2 weeks before. And it's so easy to register for your English examination. So let's ask Sir Brian right here. What if the visa bulletin is, or the visa bulletin for October 1 comes out, say, for instance, September 15 or September 20? That means to say, if it's current, they still have around 10 days to take their English examination. So, Sir Brian, in the case of the Republic of the Philippines, when is the latest for a candidate to register for an English examination? Say, for instance, the more popular ones, IELTS and PTE.
Mm. That's a good question because even if it's theoretically possible or hypothetically possible for you to book your examination maybe one day before the test itself, it is not advisable because, as you would know, here in the country, there are plenty of people who are taking the examination. So we would actually give it maybe a week or at the very least 4 days prior to your English examination to ensure that you will still be granted that slot to take your exam because English exams are in high demand. And remember, if there's a change like this, if there's an announcement of, say, for example, the US being current, if it ever happens, we'll never really know. For those major changes, people actually panic and they start booking exams one after the other, minute after minute. So you'll end up at the bottom of the roster and you might not be able to book your examination because all slots are filled, and that will further delay your application, which actually brings us to the point that it's really very important to be ahead of other people, to be very proactive and not just wait for changes to happen. Make sure that you're always waiting in the wings, ready to take your examinations when the opportunity comes, because sometimes opportunities knock only once and you have to grab that opportunity right ahead.
Thank you, Sir Brian. So going back to my timeline earlier, what if the visa bulletin for October 1 comes out around September 15 or September 20? So this should give you a grace period of 10 to 15 days to decide if you're going to take the test, or you have to wait until such time that you are ready. Remember, the deadline to register for the IELTS is 4 days before the examination. And what about the results? The results right now are only out in just 2 days. Imagine that September does not have a 31st. So, possible that we would rather that you take the examination on September 28th, because this means to say that the results are out on September 30th. But when are you supposed to register for the September 28th examination? So the deadline, guys, 4 days if it's IELTS. That means to say, what if the visa bulletin is released on September 20 for October 1? This should give you around 4 days to register for your IELTS if the state that you're planning to go to requires IELTS and does not accept PTE. Then take the examination on September 28th, and then the results are out come September 30. But that is the case for IELTS, where the deadline is 4 days before. Now, something interesting about PTE, the ultra super duper deadline to register or secure a spot for the PTE exam, 24 hours before the test date. So this means to say there's more room for you to register for the PTE even if the examination is going to take place tomorrow or the next day. Guys, that is if it's going to be current come October 1. But what if, okay? Let me ask you guys, what's your priority date? Will you please use the comment section? We have 161 live viewers on Facebook right now. Please let us know your priority date so that we can consider someone as an example and give suggestions or recommendations for that person. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the questions or comments of some of our live attendees here. Brenda said, how long to wait? Truth is, we'll never know. In fact, recently I have met with Miss Anna Cruz, our former reviewee back then in 2014. And back then, it actually took her 2 employers to abandon her, and she was affected by retrogression for several years. So she had to take IELTS again and again in order for her to push through with her dream of working as a nurse in America. But guys, you know what? She did not give up. Years ago, she became a citizen, and right now she's living the dream as a registered nurse, USRN in New York. So if she, like the others, was easily discouraged back then she would not have been a US citizen by now, enjoying the fruits of her labor. So the question is, how long to wait? We'll never know. It's just a matter of patience. But let me tell you that it is worth it, because as compared to other countries where the processing is much faster, like only 2 to 3 months, at the end of the day, the nurses in other countries, according to them, might not be able to save as much. That's why USA is still their ultimate destination. All the other destinations are just temporary pit stops. All roads lead to America because for nurses, this is the country that offers the highest salary. There are other considerations for other countries, but at the end of the day, when nurses go abroad, it's usually the savings that they think of. That's why for Brenda right here, let me tell you that it is worth the wait based on the stories of our reviewees in the last 17 years. Now, what else do we have here? Mark Season asked, 2 years also for PTE? Yes, PTE result valid for 2 years. IELTS result valid for 2 years. OET result valid for 2 years. MET result does not expire. Okay, so emphasis on Michigan English test as the only English examination in which the result does not expire. Now, we have a question from Alma. What if I'm in my final year in the university? Can I start my process? So, Alma, based on the experience of 9.09er in the last 17 years, employers would usually look for a hospital experience. So, if you are in the university right now, please correct me if I'm wrong. I would rather that you focus first on being a registered nurse in the Philippines if you are from the Philippines. And after that one, that's when I would recommend that you apply in a hospital setting, because the moment you reach minimum of 1 year experience, or much better if you have 2 years, then that's when I need you to look for an employer, take the required examinations, and so on. Yes, it is a long process, but at the end of the day, good for you, because the nursing profession allows you to have an opportunity overseas. Unlike me, that I finished a degree in research and there is no opportunity for us researchers to apply for work overseas unless we are going to study. But there's just no way that researchers will be given a working visa as compared to the lucky and fortunate nurses who already have a, so to speak, a pathway on how to become a citizen in the United States someday. Okay, Doopsy said, past NCLEX, but not done with my English examination. So the question for Doopsy right here, when is your priority date? Okay, who else do we have here? Chungtima is watching from Thailand. Good evening, Thailand. Cheryl Tan, are there available PTE testing centers in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? I suppose yes, because we have a lot of reviewees for PTE, online reviewees for that matter, who are based in Saudi Arabia. So my assumption is they are not going to take PT, they are not going to prepare for PTE if there is no PTE testing center in Saudi Arabia. Okay, let's take a look at the comment of Veronica. So just to clarify, my English exam will expire this January 2025. However, the visa screen will expire in 2028. If by January 2025, I was not able to land in the USA, should I take again the English examination? Okay, guys, what matters is the issuance of the visa. Okay, not the arrival, not the departure. So the question is, if by the time your English examination expired, do you have your visa already? Because if you have your visa, then goodbye to the pain of English examinations. However, if by the time that your English exam expired and you still do not have your visa, then I am sorry to be the bearer of the unfortunate news. You need to take another English examination because your visa has not been issued yet. Okay? Luvik said there are two PTE testing centers in Riyadh. So let's consider the case of Brenda. And for Brenda, the priority date is March 2024. So, Sir Brian, what if come October 1, the visa bulletin is announced on September 15 and September 20. And what if for the visa bulletin for October 1 tells us that it's Feb 2024. That's the visa bulletin. So it's not current, but it's Feb 2024. Do we recommend that Miss Brenda right here take her English examination if her visa bulletin is not current yet?
And that's a very interesting question, and especially because uh, the visa bulletin is up till Feb 2024, and your visa priority date is March 2024. So it means to say that you will need to wait a little bit. So you still have somewhat of an allowance there, and you don't need to take your examination right away because your priority date is not yet the one listed in the visa bulletin. So it gives you so much leeway as opposed to when your priority date is February, then you will probably be rushing.
That is 100% correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, you always have to look at the visa bulletin because if your priority date is already considered current before October 1 when the visa bulletin comes out, then if you have passed your English examination, then you're going to have this sigh of relief. But if you have not passed your English examination and it's going to be current before October 1, I urge you to take your English examination before the end of September so that come the opening of a new fiscal year, automatically we can start processing your papers. Okay, maybe there's some sort of a technical problem from the side of Sir Brian, and hopefully he's going to join us soon in the next few seconds or the next few minutes. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the responses of the other live attendees here. So, JB's priority date, April 1, 2024, which means to say, if your priority date is going to be announced current before October 1, then I need you to take your English examination and make sure you pass it before October 1. But if your priority date isn't going to be current by October 1, hold it, okay? Do not take it yet because you'll never know if you'll be affected by the expiration of your English examination result. So you have to be strategic if you're supposed to take your English examination before October 1 or after October 1. Remember, timing is very important. If I may share this with you, it was in August of 2022 when USA allowed other English examinations to be accepted for visa screen and license endorsement. So back then, the others were so excited to try other English examinations like PTE. But guys, that's how fast that's how fast things are. It's actually been 2 years now since USA accepted the other English examinations, and for those who were such in a hurry during that time to take other English examinations, what happened now? They are going to retake their English examination because as of now, if their visa has not been issued yet, then they have to take another examination. So sometimes there is an advantage if you take it soon, but there's also an advantage if you take it at a later time. It's always a matter of looking at the visa bulletin vis-a-vis your priority date. So, Sir Brian, let's take a look at the next slide that you have prepared for us.
So the next slide is, when should you take an English test? Before October 1 or after October 1? Maybe the assumption here is that if the visa bulletin is going to be current.
That is 100% correct. So earlier, that's actually what we've been explaining. And to go back to the question of nearly 200 viewers. So it's it's just a little nostalgic because it's been quite a while since there were actually 200 people watching live on Facebook. And maybe because the topic now is interesting, some people would like to take their exams, but they do not know when. So always go back to your priority date. If it's going to be current by October 1, then take your English exam before the end of October. But if it's not going to be current by October 1, wait until such time it becomes current so that you won't have to go through the burden of repeating the examination after 2 years if your visa has not been issued yet. But if I may say, historically, in the last few years, there's always a huge movement forward every October 1 because this is when they start a new fiscal year and it's as if the quota is refreshed. It's like back to zero. So, right now, you have to know when is the best time to take your exam. So in the case of JB, when po dapat mag-take if April 1, 2024 is the PD? Wait for the visa bulletin, and by then you can just send me a message because I'm responsive on Facebook. You can message 9.09 or English, or you can message me directly, Irvin Neil Tempora. So now that you know that English exams are indeed required for you to apply for visa screen, what about the English tests that are accepted? So before, it was just IELTS. So Sir Bry, right now, can we please enumerate the various exams that are accepted by visa screen? For visa screen application and license endorsement. And later, guys, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each of these English tests.
Thank you, Sir Irvin. And what an opportune time to prepare for an English exam, because it's always required for your overseas application, especially in going to the US and fulfilling your American dream. We have the IELTS, the MET, the OET, and the PTE. Now, we have been talking about when to take your English exam, but it's not as if you can take the examination on a whim. It's not like you can take the examination tomorrow just because the visa bulletin is out and you have to take it as soon as possible. So you should actually invest in preparing for your English exam. The application process doesn't really stop just because there's retro. You have to still prepare for your English exams. You have to get ready. You have to make sure that you are prepared for when you're about to take the examination already, because these exams require high scores in math, in English, most instances. And you would see here as enumerated the requirements for the various English exams. For IELTS, you need to get a 6.5 overall band score and 7 in speaking. We're just talking about visa screen here. We are not talking about the individual requirements of your state boards of nursing. Okay, so for MET, it's 55 overall with 55 in speaking. And for OET, it's listening, reading, writing 300 and speaking 350. And for PTE, it's listening, reading, writing, and speaking 50, and an overall of 50 as well. Or 55, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, there's like a typo here. So I think it's 55 overall. Let us confirm with Sir Irvin because he's the one who memorized all of these.
That's right. It's 55 overall and 50 per subtest. So, guys, look at the four English examinations that you see here on screen. You will notice that it's a little bit unfair that there are certain English examinations that do not require you to get a specific grade for listening, reading, and writing. And there's one examination that requires you to get a specific grade for all of the subtests and overall band score. Now, my question is, by merely looking at the grades that you see here, which two English examinations do not require the candidates to get a specific grade in listening, reading, and writing? Again, there is a slight delay between StreamYard and Facebook, so I'll repeat my question to give you enough time to answer the question. And what's the question once again? Which of these English examinations do not require the candidates to get a specific grade for listening, reading, and writing? Okay. We still have more than 160 live viewers on Facebook, so I suppose they can clearly see this one and can follow the discussion. But just in case you're doing something else in the hospital right now, or you're at home half asleep, okay, Yanni got it right. IELTS is actually one. What about the other English examination that does not require a specific grade for listening, reading, and writing? Thank you so much, Carmela. It's MET. Thank you, Nunez, for telling us that it's MET. So, it's just a little unfair that how come in PTE you are required to get a specific grade for all four subtests plus overall band, meaning to say you have five required grades in PTE. But for IELTS and MET, there are only two requirements: a specific grade for speaking and a specific grade for the overall band score. So this means to say, even if you get a 6 in IELTS listening, even if you get a 50 in MET reading, you can still go to the United States of America and apply for your visa screen, because CGFNS does not really care whatever grade you get for listening, reading, and writing, as long as you're able to get the required band score for speaking and the overall band category. Now, may I ask Sir Brian, how come in PTE there is a required overall band score, but how come for OET there is no required overall band score?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And the answer to that question is, in OET, there is no such thing as an overall band. You only get individual scores for all of the four components of the examination and not a single overall band that kind of averages all of the different subtests in the test. On the other hand, the PTE has individual scores for all of the four components: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Plus, you also get an overall band score, not necessarily an average of the four, but an overall performance for all of the integrated components. Because I get this a lot. Sometimes candidates get just enough for listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And when they look at the overall score, even if they average all of the four, it's still below their requirement. So, for example, they got 55 across, except in one, they probably got 52 in reading. But when they look at the overall score, it's just 49 or 50. How is that possible? And the answer to that question is, when the scores are computed, it's not an average of the four, but your overall or total performance for all of the four integrated components of the examination. So it's kind of strict when you're taking the PTE, because 55 overall is very stern, and you have to get individual scores of 50 across all of the four components. The reason being is that, again, these exams are integrated, and sometimes you're not able to accurately measure your language competency if you're just going to look at the overall score.
Very well said, Sir Brian. So, guys, before I answer the three questions here, I need everyone to know that you have to pay attention to the speaking subtest. Why? Consistently, regardless of the English test, you need to get a specific grade for speaking. Guys, in IELTS, that should be 7. In MET, 55. In OET, B or 350. And for speaking, rather for PTE, it's 50. If you look at other examinations, if you look at the other subtests, you can go to the United States without a specific grade in other components. But speaking is something that you have to pay attention to. That's why all the qualified nurses of AMN Healthcare International are being sent to us for daily one-on-one coaching in the speaking subtest. So, if you're one of the scholars of AMN Healthcare International and you were issued your digital ID already, please maximize the daily one-on-one coaching. If you don't know how to start with your one-on-one coaching, please email us or send us a private message on Facebook. It's Irvin Neil Temporal on Facebook or 9.09er English. And I am more than happy to respond to your questions up to 14 to 16 hours a day from as early as 6 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. AMN Healthcare International understands that speaking is the most important subtest. That's why you don't have to think about your speaking preparation because it's part of the package of AMN. You are entitled to daily one-on-one coaching with 9.09er. So now, let's take a look at some of the questions here. And let me choose the first question that we cannot answer. Okay? This one has something to do with premium processing. So, unfortunately, 9.09er instructors are familiar with English examinations, but when it comes to visa processing, I think we are not the best people. We are not in authority to answer this question. So maybe you can ask AMN Healthcare International questions related to premium processing. Thank you so much. Now, Imelda here asked, what about if I was offered a working visa? When am I supposed to take the English test? So let me just clarify if Miss Imelda Madarang is also applying for EB3 immigrant visa to the United States of America. Because I don't want to assume that the visa you have in mind is also the same visa that I have in mind. So please, if you could let us know which visa you are applying for so that we can also tell you which English exam to take and when to take it. Len asked, should I prioritize visa screening first before taking the IELTS? Okay, maybe someone can correct me in my understanding, but you need your English examination to apply for visa screen, which means to say you cannot secure your visa screen if you do not have your English test. So you start with your English test before you apply for visa screen. And then Tony asked here, what if my PD is June 2023? Would you recommend that I should take it before October 1? Okay. For Tony right here, wait until the visa bulletin is out sometime around September 15 or September 20. If the priority date is before June 23, 2023, come the visa bulletin, then if I were you, don't take it yet. Okay, wait until such time that it becomes current. Because what if you're so excited to take your English examination, but what if, God forbid, in the next few months it's going to move backward? Then you just lost a few months of your English exam validity, right? But what if come the visa bulletin on September 15 or September 20 and it tells you that, oh yes, it's actually current. That's when I need you to rush your preparation and take your chances. Take it before September 28, whether it's IELTS or PTE, such that when the results are out and we're praying for good news on September 30, by the time the fiscal year starts anew on October 1, you are ready, complete with all the documents. So, Sir Brian here is showing us a slide about discounted examinations. So for the longest time, we've offered a discount for the 4 major exams. There's OET, IELTS, PTE, and MET. But OET has decided not to continue with the discounted examination. So, Sir Brian, if in case the nurses would like to take OET and there is no more discount, what about the freebie that they can enjoy for OET? Should they register for their OET with the 9.09er OET link?
It's quite easy to get advantages from 9.09ers offer of providing free resources for you to prepare for your OET. And all you need to do is to book your examination through the 9.09er link associated with OET. And you can go to our mobile application, our website, and just go to the book your OET button there so that you can get directed, and you're going to have an opportunity to get free review materials. And we're talking about recorded lectures here, plus your AI writing correction for OET, in which you can just type your case notes, submit your response, and get assessment or scores from our AI powered OET writing assessment. And you get this for 1 month. All you need to do is to register for the OET using the referral link of 9.09er, which you can find on our site, or you can email exams at nineronlinereview.com for more information about this. So grab this opportunity. Even if we don't provide discounts, we can provide review materials and resources that you can utilize to help you to get ready for your OET.
So, guys, we offer a discount for IELTS exam, discount for PTE exam, and discount for MET exam. But before we go to that, we have two questions here, and they're actually similar. So, Hani asked, "So, which is better to take?" And Daniel said, "Which test would you recommend to take?" Good thing that Beng responded immediately after the questions of Hani and Daniel right here. So, with the permission of Miss Beng de Jesus, if I may share this with you, she has taken the three exams. There's IELTS, PTE, and MET. And I'm so happy to share with you that she is our 110th MET passer. She passed her MET last week. And I want to look at you straight in the eye and tell you that of her three examinations, it's with MET that she passed it on her first and last attempt. And she has this long testimonial sharing that the good thing about MET, you don't have to prepare for line graphs, bar graphs, pie charts, and tables. You don't have to retell a lecture. All you have to do is to deal with topics that one can encounter in conversational English. And to share with you, Eagle Abari, a nurse of AMN Healthcare International, also passed his MET recently and he took it in Metro Manila. So, this is a good option, a good alternative, especially if you live in places where there is no PTE exam. I understand for now that PTE is only available in four cities. There's Makati, Cebu, Baguio, and Davao. However, there are a lot of MET testing centers nationwide to help our dear candidates in order for them not to travel anymore to Baguio, Cebu, and Davao. So, where are the MET testing centers in the Philippines? Manila City and Makati City in Metro Manila. We have Cavite, Imo City, Laguna, Calamba City, Batangas, Lipa City. Up north, we also have four testing centers for MET. There's Tagupan, Pangasinan, Cabanatuan, Nueva Ecija, Tugigaraw, Cagayan Valley, and Lawag, Ilocos Norte. Bicol, we also have an MET testing center there. It's Naga, Camarines Sur. For Visayas, we have one, and that's Bacolod. And Mindanao, we have another one, Cagayan de Oro. That's as of 2024. But if we were able to open 12 testing centers in the last few months for MET, who knows, we might be adding more MET testing centers next year. We'll never know if we're going to have a second MET testing center in the Visayas and a second MET testing center in Mindanao. Now, let's take a look at some of the other questions of our live viewers. Cheryl, do I still need to retake or update my English exam every 2 years, even if I'm visa screen certified already? The answer is yes, as long as you don't have your visa yet. Okay? Because there is no exception here. No exemption, rather. If ever your English exam result expired and you still do not have your visa, you need to keep on retaking your English examination until such time that visa is issued. Guys, if we go back to our discounted examinations, if you're looking for a more affordable way of taking your IELTS exam, your MET exam, and your PTE exam, then we are an email away. That's exams at nineronlinereview.com. I am the one personally responding to the emails here, so rest assured that the information that you're getting as a response is legitimate. Or you can also send me a direct message on Facebook. That's 9.09er English or Irvinio Temporal, so that I can share with you on how you can enjoy the discounted rate for the examination. But Sir Brian, I have a question because some people are asking how come we're able to get these English examinations at a cheaper cost, something that they cannot enjoy on their own if they register directly on the website of the examination per se. So we want to be transparent to them. How does it work? How come Niner is able to provide a much cheaper and more affordable option when taking the actual exam?
The truth is, actually, at times we absorb the fee. So, with all transparency here, because we want to offer the exams at the cheaper rate, we are sometimes absorbing the fees that you're supposed to be paying for, so that you can take the examination at a cheaper rate. And also, for the PTE in particular, we are actually an official reseller of the Pearson Test of English Academic. And so we are given a special voucher for the PTE, which we actually enable you to avail at the discounted rate, so that we're kind of passing on to you the discount that we're going to get as a company, so that you can avail the examination at the cheaper rate. So all of these things are not a scam or something, because a lot of people might be thinking, oh my gosh, is this a scam? It's because I've never heard of a discount. It's because 9.09er as a company is also absorbing some of the fees, and we are also ensuring that you get the best deals by actually buying exams in bulk and then offering them to you at the cheaper rate.
So guys, don't be surprised if you have to pay it, if you have to deposit the payment to my personal account. And the simple logic is I already paid for these examinations when I ordered them in advance. That's why I'm making it available to you at a cheaper cost, so you cannot pay directly to, say, for instance, Pearson or IDP or British Council. You course it through us because we already paid for them ahead of time. Now, we have an interesting question from ED here. If I have visa screen before my IELTS expires, do I still need to take again? Yes, you still need to take your IELTS again if your IELTS examination result expires, if you do not have your visa yet. Okay, so that's why you have to be strategic. Don't just take your English exam just because you are ready. Take it when your priority date is current. Okay, and Sir Brian launched something last year, the AI of 9.09, and it started because PTE is AI powered. So why not incorporate AI as part of our program? So for the last few minutes of our presentation, Sir Brian, please give our live viewers an idea, how does our AI powered mock examinations work?
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity, Servin. And I would want to inform everyone that along the way, even if the priority date is not yet current, you will need to prepare for your English exams. And along with the preparation, you have to be very exposed to how these exams are going to go. And that is why 9.09er is now AI powered. Particularly for PTE, we have a robust PTE AI platform that simulates the entire examination, provides for you mock exams that are going to be AI assessed as well, so you can ascertain your chances of getting the right scores for your PTE. It is actually a very good program, and also one that is very advantageous because it's not like the old platforms for AI that are mainly based on templates. So this one is a little bit more legitimate compared to other AI platforms. And we are offering this as part of your enrollment, if you enroll in our full package, or you can upgrade to it by paying 1,500 pesos for every 2 months of access. Now, for IELTS and OET, you're not left behind because we also developed our AI checkers. Particularly, we have AI assessment tools for OET writing and IELTS writing. So you can thing, so that you can ascertain your scores without having to book one-on-one sessions anymore. So if you're very occupied, you're very busy, you have work cut out for you, you can just go to our AI utility, type your question or your prompt, and then type your response, and you get instant feedback from our AI software that enables you to look at your aptitude of passing your English exams. But wait, there's more. If you also avail our AI platforms, you get our grammar checker, which you can utilize to help you enhance your grammar just in case you have weak grammar and you want to improve it. It does not change your answer, unlike other AI utilities that when you type something and you ask it to check it, the content is altered ultimately. For our AI checker, it just purposely tries to change some of the things that are wrong grammatically, but the content, the message will still remain intact. And those are just some of our AI utilities. You can get the AI platform for free if you book your OET using our link, or you can pay 750 pesos per month to avail our AI utility.
And yes, our AI is actually the most affordable in the world because 1,500 for 60 days access, that's just 750 pesos per month. And that's complete with item wise, I mean, complete with full mock examinations and item-wise questions. Now, we have one last question to answer before we say goodbye to everyone. So Christopher here said, why do we need to take an English examination again if we are already visa certified? So let me clarify. Once you have your visa already, okay, visa, we're not talking about visa screen, visa, that you don't need to take another English examination. You only take your English examination if you do not have your visa yet. Okay? So, if ever you still do not have your visa and your English examination expired, then you are left with no choice but to take another English examination until such time the actual visa is issued. Okay? Hopefully, we were able to get our message across. So, uh, there's a comment here from Isaac. Uh, at the end of the day, we are just 9.09er English. We are not the stakeholders. We do not process visas. We are here to help our dear candidates pass their English examination. So we want to make it clear this is not a rule imposed by 9.09er. 9.09er is just a pawn in the game. We are just asked to train the candidates to pass their English examinations. We have no say whatsoever regarding the validity or the time when you are required to take another English examination. So once again, we would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone at AMN Healthcare International for allowing us to share our knowledge, especially when it comes to the most appropriate time or the timeline that nurses have to remember before they decide when to take their English examination. And don't forget that AMN Healthcare International has 2 shows a week. So every Friday, there is Onwards and Upwards show, and every Monday, AMN Healthcare International AMN Academy at 9 p.m. First and third Monday of the month, free lessons for NCLEX, and second and fourth Monday of the month, free English lessons from 9.09er English. Thank you so much, AMN Healthcare International. Thank you so much, Miss Malanes. Thank you to all our live viewers. We hope to have 200 live viewers as well in our next session. Thank you for now and goodbye.